Let's be honest here. Most of us want to feel like we belong, and so being rejected can do a lot of damage to your confidence and your sense of self-worth, regardless of whether you're dealing with rejection at work or in your personal life. So today I'm sharing healthy ways to deal with rejection. So let's talk. Hi, I'm Jeremy Godwin and I talk about looking after your mental health. I had a total breakdown in 2011, followed by a few years of severe anxiety and depression, and that took me on a journey of learning more about mental health. I went back to university to study psychology and sociology, and now I focus on delivering what I couldn't find. Simple advice on how to look after your mental health from someone who actually understands what it's like to go through mental health challenges. So let's talk about rejection. And we may as well begin by acknowledging the elephant in the room. Rejection sucks. Whether it's being passed over for a promotion that you worked really hard for, or finding out that someone you like, either as a friend or as something more, just isn't interested in you, well, it sucks. Most types of rejection can feel brutal, especially since they go against our instinctive desire to belong, to feel seen and valued, and to feel respected as a human being. The good news is that it's absolutely possible to find a way to process feelings of rejection and move beyond them. Like all things, it takes time, effort, and perseverance. So my first tip on how to deal with rejection is feel what you need to feel. I think sometimes we can be just so focused on wanting to feel good that we forget the purpose of negative emotions. Even though they're horrible and they make us feel like crap, strong feelings of rejection or sadness or whatever happen because we care. If someone you really couldn't care less about rejects you, does it even register as anything more than a minor annoyance? No. It happens when there's some kind of emotional connection tied into the situation, like an intimate relationship or a family connection. Even at work, it can often be linked to wanting approval from someone or wanting to maintain our reputation. So if you're feeling rejected, then feel what you need to feel, because if you fight it or ignore it, it's probably going to come back and bite you in the backside sooner or later, regardless. Next, recognize that feelings and thoughts are not facts. Usually they're reflections of your emotional state and whether or not your needs are being met. If you're feeling rejected, then clearly your need to be accepted isn't being met. So acknowledge that and accept that fact rather than letting it then turn into self-doubt. There's no right or wrong when it comes to your emotions. They are what they are, and how you feel is how you feel. You can do things to make yourself feel better and more positive, which I'll come back to shortly, but if unpleasant feelings creep back in from time to time, well, so be it. Those feelings are there for a reason. When we suffer a loss of some kind, we often have all of these feelings that we just have nowhere to put, and that can cause us pain. The only way through it is through it. And that requires you to be kind to yourself and to focus on taking things one day at a time. Next, remind yourself it's not personal, which I know is probably the most annoying piece of advice you've ever heard in your entire life, because when you are dealing with rejection, it often feels really, really personal. But here's the deal. When someone rejects you, it's about them and their choices. Unless you went out of your way to do harm to that person, then it's really not about you. Maybe that person is fearful about a relationship moving too fast and they're not ready for that. Maybe it's a family member who's set in their ways and not willing to accept other people as they are. Maybe a colleague pretended to be friendly with you so that they could manipulate a situation or gain an advantage. Whatever the reason, it's about the choices that somebody else made. You are just collateral damage. Most things that people do are not about you. They're about them and their life choices. Let it go. Next, remind yourself that you cannot make another person do or say anything, which I know is another annoying piece of advice, but it doesn't change the fact that it's true. This becomes really difficult when it's someone we're romantically attached to, or it's a close family member or longtime friend. I believe that it was the great philosopher Cher who once sang, "No matter how hard I try, you keep pushing me aside and I can't break through. There's no talking to you." Now, if Cher can't change someone's mind, then none of us can, considering that Cher invented the ability to turn back time. In all seriousness though, what are you going to do? Are you going to badger the person until they finally see the light and give in? Good luck with that. People do what they do, and you cannot make them do anything. Next, accept things as they are rather than wishing they were different. Again, some horrible advice here in the respect that it's actually solid advice, but it's horrible because facing reality feels like crap when you're a bit broken-hearted over being rejected. You really only have two choices. You can either focus on wishes or you can focus on reality, but only one of those will bring you peace of mind in the long term, and it's not making wishes. I'm sorry, but I don't make the rules. Okay, next, maintain your dignity, which is a more positive way of saying do not beg. This is especially the case when it comes to romantic rejection. Look, I might be in a long-term relationship now, but I remember all too well when I was younger, that stinging feeling of rejection and the instinct to want to do whatever you have to do to fix the situation. Don't. Your dignity and self-worth is so much more important than getting someone back who has rejected you. It will hurt, but you need to let the relationship go. Mourn its loss by all means. And like I said before, feel what you need to feel, but do so with dignity. Which leads me to the most important point of all. Make positive choices for yourself. There are lots and lots of simple things that you can do that will have a positive effect in both the short term and the long term. Spend time with people who you have healthy and positive connections with, because that actually lifts your mood. And also, so can exercise. You might also find journaling helpful because it's a great means of getting your emotions out. And I also find it helpful to write down strong negative emotions and then burn the paper as a way of symbolically releasing the negative emotions. But that's a personal choice, and you find what works for you in terms of healthy and constructive ways to get it out. Also, trade unhealthy situations for healthy ones by seeking out healthy relationships or leaning into the healthy ones that you already have. And let me just say here, that does not mean that if you're dealing with romantic rejection that you should just go rush out and find someone new. Quite the opposite. Take time for yourself and spend it with supportive friends and family members so that you're in a much better place emotionally before you pursue anything romantic. Because then you're going to be better equipped to make healthy and thoughtful decisions about potential partners in the future. The choice is yours, as it is with all things related to your well-being. So what choice will you make today? Let me know in the comments below. And rejection can often trigger our insecurities, and that's something I talk about in this video where I discuss how to deal with insecurity. So click the link to watch it next. And you'll find even more advice on looking after your well-being in my weekly podcast, Let's Talk About Mental Health. It's linked in the description below. Thanks so much for joining me today. Take care and talk to you next time.